This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Wildfire insurance. The Long Lake fire continues to threaten homes. Why that risk could mean higher insurance costs for Nova Scotians.
Emergency preparedness. Seniors in Halifax learn how to be ready in the event of a disaster.
And Dartmouth's Sullivan's Pond is drying out. But what does that mean for the beloved geese who call it home?
Well, even though Hurricane Erin will be tracking well south, well offshore of Nova Scotia, we could be looking at very rough conditions, 3 to 5 meter waves through Friday, breaking along the Atlantic coast, strong winds as well. I'll have the latest on Erin, plus a look at your 7-day forecast coming up.
Good evening. Fire officials expect an intense few days ahead fighting the wildfire in Annapolis County.
Hot and dry conditions combined with winds from Hurricane Erin are expected to fuel the blaze, which is still out of control. The fire is an estimated 3,000 hectares, and although the size of the fire has not changed in days, officials are still concerned about possible growth with the upcoming storm.
The Department of Natural Resources says crews have nearly completed dozer guards around the northern border of the wildfire. That's in an effort to protect homes in the West Dalhousie area. When winds from Hurricane Erin do arrive, officials say they are watching closely.
We are expecting wind shifts and wind increases as the storm passes. So we're expecting wind shifts initially around to the east, then up to the northeast, and then by Sunday, shifting back around to the southwest. So that's a big focus of the crews on the fire.
DNR says the fire won't be categorized as under control until they are certain there is no potential for growth.
No homes have been destroyed by the wildfire near West Dalhousie, but as you just heard, officials say the threat is still there. This is becoming the new reality for Atlantic Canada, and it's affecting insurance coverage. As Nicholas Sagan shows us, that could mean higher costs for homeowners.
Tricia Murray remembers the day her home was reduced to rubble.
We could see embers falling, we could see ash falling. The pine needles were hitting our house. It sounded like hail.
151 homes were destroyed when the 2023 Upper Tantallon wildfire tore through subdivisions just outside of Halifax.
We were traumatized from the evacuation itself. We were traumatized afterwards by the fact that we lost everything.
Murray says the insurance process took hundreds of hours, and it was 20 months before her home was rebuilt. It's a reality more people across Atlantic Canada are facing as wildfires push closer to communities.
They're bigger, they're larger, they're much harder to control.
When Paul Kovacs analyzed insured loss data, he found that homes damaged by wildfires in Canada were concentrated in Alberta and BC for decades until 2023. But this fire season is different.
It's a national issue in terms of fires. It's becoming more of a national issue in terms of structures being lost.
Besides being Canada's second worst season on record, the majority of property destruction is happening across the prairies and in Atlantic Canada. That's a challenge for homeowners and insurers.
They all need to make decisions based on their losses for how they can serve their customers going forward.
And if insurance companies are getting more claims and paying out more losses, higher premiums could follow.
Insurance companies will think about, is the price they're charging the right price for the risk?
One more thing for homeowners like Murray to worry about as wildfires become the new normal. Nicholas Sagan, CBC News, Halifax.
A climatologist says Nova Scotia wildfire season is so extreme this year, not only because of the drought and hot temperatures, but also because debris from past hurricanes is providing fuel for the fires.
I'd say the concerns in Nova Scotia are really amplified around wildfire at the moment. It's been a couple of years now since Hurricane Fiona came through. That created a lot of deadfall. If you've driven through Nova Scotia in the last couple of years, you see the debris left over from that storm, that's fallen trees, etc. A lot of it's been cleaned out and pushed away from the roads, yes, but it's still there and it's still fuel ready to combust.
A Halifax seniors organization held a free seminar on disaster preparation this week. The goal was to equip participants with knowledge and supplies to protect themselves in the event of an emergency. Olivia Piercy has more.
Dozens of seniors gathered at a church in Halifax for a free emergency preparedness course on Tuesday afternoon. The event aimed to help them come up with a safety plan for disaster situations.
Most of us in my building are using wheelchairs, scooters, or walk with a cane. So for them to know, what's going on and how to protect themselves.
Recently, hundreds of Nova Scotians evacuated their homes because of the West Dalhousie wildfire. Kathleen Reed, the executive director of Sagewell, organized the event. She said she prepared for 25 participants, but about 40 showed up.
I think over the last few years, our seniors have gone through emergencies or had loved ones involved in them, and it's made them go, wait, I'm not ready.
We're generally underprepared.
Matthew Reed taught the course. He has over a decade of emergency response experience, including fire services and hurricane relief.
There are more things that we as community members could do to be prepared and just relieve some of that stress.
Participants worked on action plans for hypothetical scenarios like evacuations, floods, and power outages. They considered medical and mobility complications that could affect their course of action.
I think everybody should come to an event like this to learn, to be ready, and not taken off guard type of thing, because anything can happen on any particular day.
Before leaving, participants built their own emergency kits to take home. The kits include things like canned food, flashlights and batteries, can openers, and first aid supplies.
You're prepared to walk out your door if need be.
I am going home to pack my knapsack, which is my emergency kit, to put all my stuff in.
Kathleen Reed said the course will be offered again in the fall. Olivia Piercy, CBC News, Halifax.
Jay Scotland in again for Ryan Snoddon tonight and looking at Erin.
That's right, and some windy and wavy conditions coming our way.
Yeah, latest on Erin, really no significant change, track, or intensity, which is good. This is just a huge hurricane. We're looking at tropical storm force winds. Even though the storm is weakening, Cat 2, soon to be Cat 1, they extend over 500 kilometers from the storm's center. So that is a huge area. And even though that storm is still tracking well south through the day on Friday, will still be a Category 1 hurricane. That wind field will still be huge, and that means a lot of wave energy making its way onshore. So very rough conditions, marine conditions offshore. But as we take a look along the Atlantic coast into your Friday morning, those waves are picking up for the South Shore and then extending east along the Atlantic coast. We could be looking at anywhere from 2 to 5 meter waves breaking onshore. Likely afternoon, evening, 3 to 5 meter waves breaking onshore. So my advice, don't go near the shore on Friday. And we will also be looking at very strong winds potentially developing along the coast for exposed areas as well. As we take a look through your Friday, those winds will be anywhere from, I would say, 30 to 50 inland, but 50 gusting over 70 along exposed coastal areas. And that risk will extend evening and towards the overnight hours before diminishing on Saturday. So a blustery day, not good for the coastal conditions, but those 50+ K gusts also inland, certainly not good for the fire situation as well. Tom and Amy.
Yeah,
for sure.
That is not good. All right.
Okay, thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Former Nova Scotia physician has been charged with sexual assault after allegedly assaulting a patient during an emergency room assessment at the Cumberland Regional Healthcare Centre in January. Police arrested Dr. Sanjeev Sirpal last week, and they believe there are more victims. He is no longer licensed to practice medicine in Nova Scotia. Sirpal has been previously employed in Quebec and is now in New Brunswick. His license to practice in Quebec was revoked in 2022 after he knowingly omitted information about past academic misconduct on his application. Sirpal is scheduled to appear in court in November.
As our long, dry summer continues, many people are noticing that water levels at some ponds have gotten quite low. In Dartmouth, there's concern about what's happening at Sullivan's Pond and how the iconic geese that live there are doing. Andrew Sampson reports.
It's another beautiful day in Dartmouth, but where I'm standing is quite unusual. I'm in Sullivan's Pond, which is drier than it perhaps has ever been.
I've lived in Dartmouth probably the last 5 years, and we've never seen anything like it. I walk my dog here quite often, and we've never honestly even seen the rocks.
The water levels are so low that some people are worried about the fate of the pond's beloved mascots, these geese.
The geese are very much of the community. Everybody watches them. When they have their babies, we watch them grow, and they're loved by all.
This is what the pond usually looks like when we're not experiencing a drought. The city says there's still plenty of water for the geese to swim around in, and that they're well taken care of and can come and go from the pond as they please.
HRM staff are here every day. They're attended to, they're fed, they're looked after, and they seem completely fine. They're out there, just climbed out on the other shore over there. So the world is a pretty simple place when you're a goose.
In the past, when Sullivan's Pond was low, the city would simply adjust the dam at Lake Banook to let more water in. But these days, there's stricter rules from the province which monitors the lake. What's really needed here is obvious.
If we adjust the Banook thing, it's only a stopgap measure. What we actually need to fix this is we need rain.
The good news is that the geese at Sullivan's Pond are gonna be just fine. The bad news is, until we get any rain, the pond is likely to only get drier. Andrew Sampson, CBC News, Dartmouth.
Well, the journey to the Canada Games is rarely a smooth one, but for Nova Scotia's softball team, the road to St. John's has been especially bumpy.
Two of the team's leaders recently battled life-threatening medical conditions, but as the CBC's Elizabeth Chu tells us, they made it to the games.
At the softball park near Kitty Viti Lake, Team Nova Scotia, the boys in blue, are taking on the New Brunswick squad. For these athletes, it doesn't get much better than the Canada Games, especially for 19-year-old Ty Campbell.
How's it feel to be here in St. John's?
It feels pretty unreal, and it's honestly felt like this day wouldn't come. I didn't really know what it would look like at the start of the year for myself.
After suffering from intense headaches for more than a year, Campbell was diagnosed with a large brain aneurysm. That was just 9 months ago.
Some things went sideways after that. On January 24th, I had another emergency surgery, and then I had a stroke, which left me paralyzed on the left side of my body. So I'm still not 100% today, but I'm definitely very, very happy where I am. I'm able to play, which is obviously my main goal.
With the support of his family, teammates, and friends, he's made it to the Canada Games.
The summer was like 2 years, it felt like, because everything that we went through, but...
Teammate Camden Weatherby says Campbell isn't just a co-captain in name, he's a true leader on the field.
We all love Ty, and it wouldn't even be close to the same as it is now without him. We all rely on him super heavy. He reads our lineup before the games and gets the boys fired up. So
Campbell and the rest of the team are in a week of tough competition, but they have another source of inspiration: their former coach, Garth Perrin. In early May, Perrin was in hospital fighting for his life. For 3 months, he battled a staphylococcus infection that attacked his spine and arm, and then a bout of COVID. Those medical issues ultimately forced Perrin to give up his position with the team, which meant, with just weeks to go until the games, the team needed a coach.
When he got sick, myself and Robin Eisner, assistant coach, just talked it over, and we wanted to make sure these kids get the Canada Games experience. So we just almost felt an obligation to the sport and to these kids, and we just jumped in and took it on as our own.
Garth Perrin, G as he's affectionately known by the players, released from hospital just a couple of weeks ago, taking the long ferry ride from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland.
Blessed, I guess, to be here.
Having you here, how much of an inspiration is that?
Shouldn't be an inspiration so much as I want them to do this for themselves. Rather than for me.
After overcoming so many hurdles, these players, most of whom grew up together, are tighter than ever.
We're a brotherhood, so I wouldn't be here right now without any of those people.
Team Nova Scotia is proving the Canada Games are about the push for performance and also perseverance. Elizabeth Chu, CBC News, St. John's.
Oh, a lovely day to be out on a boat.
Sure is.
Jay is up next with the full weather forecast. See you in a bit.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
And Jay is back with this full forecast. Sounds like some blustery conditions.
Yeah, keeping a close eye on Aaron, and for good reason, Jay.
Yeah, and when we talk about those wind speeds, I know we've seen winds far higher than 25 to 50K inland, looking at gusts upwards of 60, 70K for the coast. But keep in mind, this is from a hurricane, so it will feel a little more persistent, and certainly the waves will not reflect what we would normally see with winds of that speed, because offshore, the winds driving that wave energy onto the Atlantic coast will be much higher, and that's why we're looking at 70K gusts possible for coastal areas, but winds potentially waves potentially 3 to 5 meters in height breaking at the shore. That will also increase the risk of dangerous rip currents. So just avoid getting too close to the water. If you plan on checking out the choppy conditions, you don't want to be near them. Certainly don't want to end up in the drink, as it will be very rough sea state along that Atlantic coast tomorrow, and pretty windy conditions extending pretty far inland as well into the afternoon and evening as that storm is passing to our south. There's a look at our daytime highs today. It was quite calm today. We'll watch for very different conditions in terms of that wind tomorrow. And unrelated, but we will be looking at a strong south to southwest wind developing on Sunday as well. So in terms of the wildfire risk, we're not getting any beneficial rain from Aaron. We are seeing increased wind, and then we have another round of winds from a different direction to round out the weekend. So as that fire risk is elevated, just use extra caution, abide by all bans and restrictions that are in place, as the wind without the rain is never a good combination. We're already starting to see a little bit of cloud cover building into the South Shore region, and we will watch for a partly cloudy sky to develop across much of southern and I would say more southern and western areas tonight. Some fog patches will also be possible until that wind picks up. I'm not expecting it to be this cloudy by midnight tonight by any stretch. This is a lot of high cloud, high cirrus cloud that we're seeing on this forecast model, so there will still be some sunshine breaking through into the morning. And I am expecting more of a mix of sun and cloud for northern and eastern areas. It does become mainly cloudy, though, for more southern areas, certainly towards the Atlantic coast. And there will be Aaron passing to our south, well offshore, as a Category 1 hurricane, still driving a lot of water, a lot of wave energy towards the Atlantic coast. That wind will be coming in through the day, generally from the east to northeast, eventually swinging around to a more northerly direction. But we'll be looking at just immediately along the coast, those gusts potentially exceeding 70 kilometers per hour, inland potentially topping 50 kilometers per hour, and we are watching for that high waves as well, and that increased risk of rip currents just due to that strong wind. Good news is, though, it does continue to track well south of us, and we can see conditions really improving into your Saturday morning, where we can expect a mainly sunny sky across the province, and that wind will be far less impactful Friday night into early Saturday. The sea state will also calm down as well. As for your Saturday, though, mainly sunny conditions, not too bad. I know we need some wet weather. You will see some rain in the forecast, though, when we get to your 7-day forecast in just a moment. So through the overnight hours tonight, you're going to see a partly cloudy sky, mainly clear for northern and eastern areas. A little cooler there, and a few spots inland low-lying may dip into the single digits. But this cloud cover generally is going to be high above us, so it's not going to look like a low cloud deck. So when the sun does rise tomorrow, it will still be penetrating that cloud deck. So we will see some of that sun filtering through. Very tough to predict what mainly cloudy looks like when most of the cloud cover is really high above us. But I do expect it to be cloudier, certainly for more coastal areas where we're looking at the strong winds and that risk of course, the coastal impact with the increased waves. Temperatures tomorrow will be into the low to mid-20s. Not much in terms of humidex, but really it's going to be a blustery day. It's going to be a mainly cloudy day. Certainly not as nice as what we enjoyed for your Thursday today. So windy conditions, increasing cloud cover, morning into the afternoon. The wind will be picking up as well as Aaron passes to our south, and you will see the cloudier conditions and the windier conditions near the Atlantic coast. So as you're closer to the coast, this is where you're going to see the worst of this, and certainly would be far worse if that track was different, if it was closer to Nova Scotia. Very happy with the track as it is. As we take a look into that long-range outlook, Sunday night into Monday, we do have a chance of some wet weather. Good chance for some steadier pockets of rain into early Tuesday morning as well. It's not a lot when we look at that 7-day forecast, but what we do see is at least welcome on Monday, as we have very dry conditions. And please be extra mindful of that elevated fire risk with tomorrow's strong winds.
Absolutely.
Sure, keep it in mind. Okay, Jay, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jay. We're back after this. This year's hot, dry weather has been hard on a lot of farmers, but one crop is doing well in these conditions. Stephen Els with Elsley Vineyards is here now, and the grapes like it.
Yeah, this is the weather the grapes like. They're, a Mediterranean crop, so this is the conditions they're really doing well in.
And can we have a look at what you're growing here?
Yeah, sure. This is Chardonnay. This will be going to probably a sparkling program at one of the wineries. So.
Is that one of the ones that really enjoys the hot, the hot weather, low rain?
Absolutely, yeah. This is very well suited to this. It's a Vitis vinifera variety, so a European type variety, and it's really thriving in these conditions. During berry development, you really want dry conditions, so the berries stay a little bit small. The clusters are a little bit looser, and now we're just coming into the ripening phase, so veraison, and we've got a little bit of rain last week, so we're really excited about the quality level that's going to come into our vines this year.
Even that little bit of rain was enough?
Yeah, in a perfect world, I'd like to have about 5 millimeters of rain a week maybe, would be lots for me, yeah.
What other varieties do you have here, and how are they adapting?
Yeah, we've got quite a bit of, about half the vineyard is Vitis vinifera, so Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, Riesling, Cab Franc, and then the other half is hybrids. And what we find is the Vitis vinifera varieties are actually more adapted to the dry conditions than the hybrids.
Those are the European ones?
Yes, yeah. So a couple of the hybrids are flagging a little bit. The Frontenac Blanc and the New York Muscat are showing a tiny bit of sign of being dry. Nothing that concerns me. But some of the other varieties, Geisenheim and Lacadie Blanc, I think we all know from Tidal Bay, they're doing very, very well. They're looking really, really great.
So when the grapes get turned into wine, what kind of year are you expecting?
I think we're looking for an absolute banner year for quality. This could be one of those years we talk about for a lot of years to come. Is just like that, the quality of this year with the smaller grapes, the more condensed, the impact of the flavors on everything. I think it's going to be great.
And how has it stacked up to other years? I know there've been some setbacks.
Oh yeah, well we've had a few tough years in the past. The past couple of years have been a little better. We're nicely recovering now from the polar vortex of 23. So we're quite excited about this year. It's been a good year for disease. We haven't had much disease pressure. So the vines in our vineyard here are looking very healthy, and I'm pretty enthused about it.
You've been in this business for a couple of decades, right?
Yeah, I've been in it for a while, yeah.
What do you see going forward? I know lots of effects of climate change, and the planet is obviously feeling the strain of that.
Yeah, I think here in Nova Scotia we have this almost untapped opportunity that we're looking at with the slight changes in climate change. We're getting a few more heat units, and years like this I think are probably out of the ordinary with being so dry, but with those extra heat units, and then we have this incredible advantage of these long cool falls that more and more we're seeing Vitis vinifera being Pinot Noir. I think Pinot Noir and Gamay are making beautiful wines here in Nova Scotia now. The Chardonnay, when I got into it, people said I was a little crazy for planting so much Chardonnay, and now I think Chardonnay is just the norm. So we're seeing more and more Pinot. We're seeing more Gamay, we're seeing more Cab Franc, and these varieties, these kind of, the European, the Burgundy, the Bordeaux varieties are doing exceptionally well here now.
And things are changing over in Europe now as well, so how does that impact the wines that are coming out of the whole planet? Oh,
for sure. They're getting hotter as well. So they don't have that opportunity to take the time for the grapes to really get those flavors like they used to get. They're ripening so quick that they're moving their harvest dates forward every year. It's a little quicker that they're having to harvest them. So we still have that advantage of the cooler climate to build those flavors and make these exceptional wines. Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting from our perspective.
Now, you're also a volunteer firefighter, and of course, dry conditions have been ripe for fires and wildfires. How are you feeling with that hat on?
Yeah, on edge for sure. It's every time there's any sort of a fire, if it's a car fire or a little any type of fire, we're super on edge, and I think we're getting there a little quicker, right? Just any structure fire can turn into a wildfire now, so yeah, we're pretty on edge about it all and trying to make sure we're on top of everything.
Yeah, a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for taking us through the vineyard. We appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Coming up, a 17-year-old Montreal teen facing terrorism charges after a months-long investigation revealed he was allegedly planning an attack on behalf of ISIS.
And a potentially deadly tick-borne disease typically found in the southern U.S. is now making its way into Canada. Welcome back. A Montreal teen facing terrorism-related charges appeared today before the Youth Division of the Court of Quebec.
The RCMP say he was allegedly planning an attack on behalf of the Islamic State. The CBC's Melissa Francois has more from Montreal.
A Montreal teenager appeared in youth court after being arrested on terrorism charges. We cannot identify the teen, but we know he is 17 years old and facing 3 charges of financing, participating, and facilitating terrorist activities. Now, we saw his mother today, and she couldn't hold back tears when she got inside the courtroom. The teen himself appeared like he was not totally present. At one moment, Justice Martine Nolin was talking to him, and she said, "I'm not sure if you're listening, but I will continue to talk to you." He was surrounded by 3 intervention officers, and there were also RCMP officers inside. Now, the teen remains in custody until Monday to set a date for his bail hearing. Here's the federal Crown prosecutor explaining the reasons why he objected to bail.
It's because we believe there's a risk that he would not come to court when so ordered. Secondly, we also believe there are grounds to fear that he will commit another criminal offense while waiting for the next court date for trial. And thirdly, that it would, the fact of being released under the circumstances here, which I won't comment in great detail because the evidence is not out yet in court, but it would affect the trust that the public has in the courts, in the judicial system.
The teen was arrested on Wednesday in an apartment in the Côte-des-Neiges, NDG borough in Montreal. The RCMP says about 40 police officers participated in the operation. The investigation alleges he was taking various steps to carry out at least one attack on behalf of the Islamic State and posted threatening messages on social media, that he was also trying to get a long rifle-style gun. If he pleads guilty or is found guilty, the prosecutor will ask for an adult sentence. Mélissa François, CBC News, Montreal.
Russia launched one of its biggest aerial attacks of the year overnight in western Ukraine. Authorities say the bombardment included 500 drones and 40 missiles, leaving one person dead and injuring several others. An American-owned factory near the Hungarian border was also struck by missiles. The aerial assaults come amid a U.S.-led diplomatic push to end Russia's war on Ukraine. Donald Trump met with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Alaska last week and hosted Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders at the White House on Monday. But since then, there has been little sign of progress.
German prosecutors say a Ukrainian man is under arrest for the attacks on the Nord Stream pipelines. The pipelines were effectively destroyed in September of 2022, about 8 months into the war. Nord Stream carried Russian gas under the Baltic Sea to European cities. Ukraine has long denied having a role in the sabotage. German prosecutors say the suspect is being accused of having helped coordinate the attack that involved placing explosions on the pipelines that run deep undersea. The blast blew a hole in the Nord Stream 1 pipeline and damaged the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The suspect is in custody in Italy, and German prosecutors aren't saying when he will be sent to Germany.
Another fire in Newfoundland has been downgraded. Now, both the Paddy's Pond near St. John's and Martin Lake fires in the central part of the province are considered held. And more firefighters are being deployed to the largest fire burning on the island, the Kingston Fire. As Katie Nicholson reports, that includes a new tool in Canada's aerial firefighting arsenal.
All right, so behind me is the Kingston Fire, and you might see up there a line of water bombers. Today, the province is launching what it's calling a full aerial assault on this fire. And in addition to water bombers, there is something of a new addition to the Canadian wildfire fight that's been participating in the fight here in Newfoundland for the first time. It's called a Fire Raptor.
That's the tank.
Yeah.
The snorkel. We hover down in the water, put the snorkel, the pump is on the end of the snorkel. Put the pump in the water, start pumping, and the bag is collapsible, so it starts to extend. And when it's full, we carry 5,000 liters. When it's full, head to the fire.
It's a retrofit. It's a Sikorsky S92, but with a water bladder that's attached to the undercarriage that uses a high-power hose to suck water from ponds and then spray it onto wildfires. Pilots say a few designs on this aircraft allow for better accuracy when it comes to hitting those hot spots.
We have the bubble window here, so I can look down, straight down this hole,
Yeah.
and I can look down at the snorkel and get an accurate read on where we want the water, and properly adjust for any wind that we're dealing with.
These Fire Raptors have been adapted from choppers that have aged out of offshore service but still have more years of life left in them. They're stripped of passenger seats and bulkheads, anything that adds weight so it can carry more water. They started to be used in fires out west last summer.
A great power machine, precision dropping. They're amazed at what this aircraft can do. Power, speed, precision. The flight crews love it. And yes, it's in high demand.
There are 2 in service in Canada right now, with a 3rd chopper being converted, but this is the first time that a fire raptor has been used in Newfoundland. All the focus right now is on the Kingston fire, which of course has burned more than 200 structures. And there are hopes that the efforts today will bring evacuees one day closer to returning and rebuilding. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, in the Heart's Content Barrens.
The United Nations is calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and the unconditional release of all hostages. This comes in response to the Israeli army preparing to launch a new ground offensive in the territory's biggest city. Chris Brown has the latest.
1 million Palestinians are crammed into Gaza City, many displaced from their homes several times over and now fleeing again. Israeli bombardments have increased ahead of what the IDF is foreshadowing as an all-out assault. We will deepen the attacks on Gaza City, a stronghold of government and military terror, said Brigadier General Efi Defrin. Despite hunger and fear, some in Gaza are taking their opposition to the streets, the brave ones to protest Hamas, while here they're holding up English signs for international audiences protesting Israel. Stop the genocide, said Mohammed Halas. We can't take it. Gaza City will be destroyed. Where are we supposed to go? The head of UNRWA, the key UN agency for Palestinians that Israel accuses of supporting terrorism and it denies, said Israel's attack on Gaza City would amount to a death sentence for countless weakened, already malnourished children. Aisha Wadan said she had to feed her 8-month-old son Hatem natural herbs because there was no milk and she was too weak to breastfeed. Amid so much death and pain came a rare story of survival from 23-year-old Saja Hamad. She was almost completely buried after an Israeli strike collapsed her house, but remarkably, rescuers managed to dig her out. I was sleeping, she said, and suddenly I found myself under the rubble. There is a ceasefire deal on the table that Hamas has reportedly accepted, but Israel has now rejected. It would see 10 of approximately 20 living hostages freed over a 60-day ceasefire. But Netanyahu says they must all be freed. And while Israel negotiates, the assault on Gaza City will continue. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
A potentially deadly tick-borne illness is spreading in Canada, but it's not Lyme disease. Human cases of Rocky Mountain spotted fever have been reported in Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia. As the CBC's Jayla Bernstein tells us, the illness is treatable if you get help early enough.
There's a new tick-borne illness that's spreading to Canada, and it can be deadly. It's called Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Now, the good news is that it is preventable. The same advice that applies to avoiding and preventing Lyme disease applies to preventing this illness. If you're going to enjoy the outdoors, you want to stick to well-groomed paths like this one. If you're going to go into the woods, off the main paths, well, if you're going to see long grass like this is where you want to be suiting up to protect yourself.
So it's not too complicated to protect ourselves from tick bite. Proper clothing, the DEET. Then when you get back home, tick check. Shower. My laundry is going to go directly in the wash.
Now, the condition, the illness, is treatable if it's caught early. Antibiotics can be used, but the key is watching out for symptoms. Doctors say if you have a fever, if you have nausea, and if you have a telltale rash, which can show up as red splotches or pinpoint dots on your skin, and if you've been somewhere where you could have been in contact with ticks, well, the advice is to consult a doctor as quickly as possible. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Longueuil, Quebec.
The PEI Humane Society is over capacity. The agency is currently caring for hundreds of animals and is hoping most of them will soon have new homes. As the CBC's Chien Desjardins tells us, some are waiting to enter the adoption program, but others never will.
Sparrow is just one of more than 200 animals the PEI Humane Society is caring for. Almost every kennel is taken, foster families are full, and fewer than 25 animals are up for adoption.
The day-to-day is very busy, considered overcapacity for us. It's quite full, as you can hear. I think it's important to know that not every animal that enters our care is in our adoption program.
These guys have been here for weeks, but because they're so young, they're just starting to look for a family now. Other animals are too sick or need treatment. The hope is those ones can be adopted soon, but some animals may never be part of that program.
So a lot of the animals we have in our care right now are actually part of animal protection cases. They might be here for emergency housing through our Safe Haven program, and any other number of reasons. So because of that, we tend to sometimes get very, very full.
It's taking longer for adoptions too. Mila has been here since March.
So the length of stay for these animals is increasing. The volume of animals, because of the nature of our work, is increasing. And so it's very much slowing down the process, but not necessarily in a way that can be alleviated through adoption, just through time.
But other animals are waiting to get in. The Humane Society will be moving into this new building. It doesn't necessarily hold more animals, but she says it'll make some things a lot easier.
There's a clinic built into that building, for instance. So those spay and neuters that we're currently waiting for, we'll be able to do those on site. And that will expedite things hugely for a lot of our animals and move them onto the adoption program a lot more rapidly.
In the meantime, she's asking the public to be patient. More fosters would help create space, and so just spreading the word about animals like Robin, who might be a little camera shy, but are going to need a home. Chien Desjardins, CBC News, Charlottetown.
You may have heard about a marriage falling apart, but what about falling in the trash? A BC couple had an unusual scare when a wedding and anniversary ring went missing. The search took them all the way to the local dump. The CBC's Keir Junos has more about the rummage through the trash.
Well, you've heard of diamonds in the rough, but what about diamonds in the dump? After a Mission couple's movie date ended with some wedding rings missing in a bag of popcorn, the trail of the missing jewelry led them to this steaming pile of compost. Married to his wife Janine for 26 years, Steve Van Ijseldijk wasn't about to let stinky piles of rotting waste stop him from retrieving the symbol of their affection, possibly buried here at the Mission landfill. He asks compost processor Denny Webster for some help.
I know exactly what bag they're in. I know what I'm looking for in regards to popcorn, and there's a Timbits box.
Webster was skeptical. He goes through dozens of trucks of waste every day, but Steve quickly showed he was very familiar with his trash.
And then I looked. I'm like, oh, there is a popcorn bag there. And then he did notice sausages in his, that was his as well. So then I thought, okay, maybe this man is legit.
But how did Steve figure the rings would even be at the dump? He and Janine were watching a movie at the Langley IMAX. Janine bought a big bag of popcorn home for her daughter, but it spills on the lawn as she gets out of the car. Using her jeweled hand, she cleans it up, brings it inside, everyone eats the popcorn, and the bag goes in the bin and out for morning compost pickup. The next evening,
we were out for dinner and I went to the washroom and I washed my hands and I looked down and said, where are my rings?
after checking multiple locations, Steve checked home security footage that showed the last time his wife was wearing the rings before concluding they were in the compost. The next morning, he's at the dump with Webster, who's using an excavator to scoop up piles of waste for Steve to trudge through. Thankfully, the smelly search didn't last long.
And then he found the ring fairly quickly, 15 minutes, I think, after finding the popcorn bag.
I called her when I found the first one. She was at Princess Auto buying a metal detector because I told her to go there. I found the second one and called her again, and she already bought the metal detector. But
hi, Janine. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for all your help.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Proof that sometimes love is that deep.
Yeah, just one scoop at a time and picked it out and
had my shovel.
Yeah, yeah. I felt sorry for the man, that's for sure.
Keir Junos, CBC News, Mission.
Strength in the basic metals sector helped Canada's main stock index close higher today, while U.S. markets lost ground. Here's a look at the markets as we head to break. This is Nova Scotia. And this is Nova Scotia on your smart TV, because CBC News is now streaming local. Get local headlines, weather, and community stories, plus newscasts and live programming on your favorite connected device, all for free. It's called the CBC News Nova Scotia streaming channel. See your community on your connected TV and mobile devices. Your local news streaming channel, now available.
This weather update is brought to you by Access Wellness Nova Scotia. Book your appointment today for free, confidential mental wellness support.
Jay Scotland back one last time tonight to give us that final recap on the weather forecast.
Dan, it sounds like a good day tomorrow to stay away from the coast.
Yes, taking a look at the water. Keep a safe distance back from it would be my best advice. And you have that much energy coming onshore, it means a lot of it bounces back offshore, and that's where we see that risk of rip currents that can be very deadly in these conditions. But you'll see the choppiness of the water as the winds will not reflect the wave height as you're on the coast. A lot of that energy is coming from the much stronger winds, which will be offshore. Thankfully, Aaron's track is well offshore as well. Should note there are a few other areas of development that we're keeping an eye on in the Atlantic, so things are beginning to heat up in terms of that activity. Very happy with the track of this one. Unfortunately, we don't see any of the rain. We do see some of the wind, though, and as we watch into your Friday morning, already for the South Shore, starting to push towards the Halifax area, those winds will be picking up as we move late morning into the afternoon. That's where those winds will be gusting inland, 40, 50K for the HRM. Further north you are up into Truro, for example, 20 to 40. Could see some gusts to 50K. But really, those 70-plus K gusts will be immediately along the coast. And that will continue into Friday evening for more eastern areas overnight into Saturday as the storm is tracking south of Newfoundland and transitioning to post-tropical. We'll continue to see those winds ease. So starting out with breaks of sunshine becoming less frequent through the morning. Some early morning fog possible until that wind picks up. You can see by the noon hour, 20 gusting to 40. But already, if you're by the water, gusts could be over 50 kilometers per hour. And then mid to late afternoon, sustained 25 to 30, gusting 40 to 50, potentially upwards of 70 or higher for coastal areas as that wind increases through the day, and those high clouds will be increasing as well. Amy and Tom.
All right, there you have it. Jay, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jay. A New Brunswick lobster has been on the move this year.
A scientist has been tracking lobsters around Grand Manan Island, and one of them has made an impressive journey. The CBC's Sam Farley has the story.
A researcher in southwest New Brunswick has been studying how far female lobsters travel, and usually it's not that far.
We get reports from Nova Scotia, we get reports from Maine, and I had a couple of those last week actually, and now we can add Cape Cod to the list.
Since 2019, Koopman has tagged over 6,000 lobsters in the waters around Grand Manan Island. The tags have her phone number for lobster fishermen to call if they catch one of the lobsters to report where it ended up. Recently, one lobster traveled all the way from where it was tagged off Grand Manan to Cape Cod, Massachusetts. That's over 200 nautical miles as the crow flies. And that's a new record for the data that Koopman has gathered.
This is the furthest one we've ever had. I expected a bunch to be reported from the Maine coast because we've had those in the past. I didn't think we'd get down to Massachusetts. And then the other thing, of course, is that, you know, a fisher down there picking up a lobster with a yellow tag and a strange phone number on it probably wouldn't have known about my tagging program because it's so far away.
Koopman says she's not sure why this specific lobster traveled so far. But she said that they will travel for the mating season and that they're very sensitive to water temperatures. And this latest data point from Cape Cod is just one piece of the larger question that she's trying to research.
We're interested in kind of where these females go broadly because that will tell us maybe where larvae will hatch and then maybe where little eggs will hatch and then grow up into big lobsters, which means something for the industry, right? We're wanting to make sure that the lobster fishery is sustainable. And so we're trying to help understand how the reproduction part fits into that.
Yep, well traveled for sure.
Getting around for sure.
That's it for us tonight.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.